Hey everyone, it's Ellis, and this is going to be the TeamFight Tactics first ever beta patch 0.1 plus 0.2 rundown. I just actually went over patch 0.2, but being that Twitch chat is extremely five-head, here we are redoing the video so that I can snack out all day. Alright, so this patch actually came out yesterday. This was June 19th, 2019. And let's just take a look at everything. So Ash fixed a bug where Enchanted Crystal didn't stun anything. So this is just ultimately a bug fix, not any sort of balance change. Blitzcrank rocket grab damage increased from 100 to 300 scaling to 100 to 600 scaling. Rocket grab missile speed increased from 1800 to 3000. Rocket grab pull speed increased from 1800 to 3000. So this in and of itself is also damage because your allies and everything will start hitting the champions sooner. So obviously if you have a level 2 Blitzcrank, which is honestly, I think it's the only amount that you end up getting. Maybe there's some hidden ability to Blitz that's just really good that I'm not understanding and I'm not having seen, or I haven't played against. I haven't seen anyone utilize it. But this is very interesting. This probably ends up equating to quite a bit of damage for a tier 2 Blitz, plus the pull speed and everything being so much higher, allowing you and your teammates or your characters to deal more damage. Darius, decimate damage reduced from 150 to 300 to 150 to 250. So the really cool thing about Darius is that the rank 2 Darius is still actually pretty much doing the same thing. And Darius, if you get him really early on, is quite strong. Losing 50 damage off of his decimate, when you consider that it can end up hitting 2 to 3 targets in the later stages of the game, ends up meaning that obviously this is multiplied quite a bit. But you don't really go Darius later on. You often get him in the early into mid stages and then max out on him, and you can use his Imperial bonus combined with Katarina often in the mid game to start taking things over, and then you can obviously round it out by going Draven and Swain in the later stages. So that is pretty nice. Draven, no nerfs yet, but eyes are on him. He's intended to be a top tier DPS, but he might be a bit too strong. Gangplank. Powder Keg's damage increased from 100 to 200, 150 to 400. This is obviously really big if it hits multiple champions. I actually talked about this in error in the previous patch rundown that I did, that it was not going to be uploaded on YouTube, where I questioned where the Gangplank changes were that I heard about, but here they are. So this is actually quite nice. I don't think that it helps out Pirates enough because you basically have to get Graves, Pike, and Gangplank all on the same team, and then they're all split up with their secondaries and whatnot, so it becomes extremely awkward having all three of them. So you get the Pirate passive, but I'm not totally sold yet on Pirates, and I am curious that if they do end up needing more buffs right now. So buckshot damage multiplier reduced from 10 to 20% to 5 to 15%, so this is definitely quite big. I had tweeted at Riot August yesterday that I said that I didn't understand why he was being nerfed. The tweet was replied, or sorry, he had replied to someone else saying that if you get red buff on Graves, then he's really strong, which I do agree with. If you do get red buff on him and he's hitting a lot of characters and whatnot, he can be very strong. But not only do you have to get Graves, you have to have the Graves cards early on, you have to roll into him, and then you have to get synergy for him so that he's not just a sitting duck because he's part pirate, part gunslinger. You have to get the items that make him strong. So the stars have to sort of double align to create that RNG. I don't know how I feel about a champion being balanced like that, like basically saying, oh, well, if you get this item, this champion's too strong, because I mean, we can see champions like Akali in League of Legends and then wonder, well, why is Gunblade okay? But I feel like Graves is a standalone right now because of the gunslinger and the pirate. It's sort of indirectly hitting him, and if you don't get the insane RNG, then it's really rough. I also don't know how well Graves will do in the future if Teamfight Tactics evolves to a point where you can know possibly who you're going up against next. Because if people know that you have Graves on your team early and they're looking around at the other maps and they know that you have Graves and maybe he's level 2, maybe they end up just splitting up their team and you actually don't get a lot of usage out of his passive. So not entirely sure what's going on there. Some people in Twitch chat are saying that it shows the order at the top, but I believe that it's still random. So what I'm saying right now is that if it ends up showing the order without any randomness, I think that that's when things could become very interesting. Leona. Added a particle to the unit Leona stun since it lasts for an eternity. Okay. Mordekaiser. Obliterate mana cost increase from 75 to 100. Obliterate damage increase from 150 to 350 scaling to 200 to 450 scaling. I actually didn't know about this. Mordekaiser was very underwhelming even when you got him to rank 2 early. He felt very lackluster compared to, say, Garen or, say, Darius or just actually a bunch of other champions. Kha'Zix even was definitely very awkward. So it's very nice to see that he did get a little bit of love here, but I still don't know if he's entirely worthwhile picking because he can't actually get the Phantom passive until way later because Kindred comes online at 4 and then Karthus comes online at 5. And so the Phantom passive is sort of dead. So you have to have him being able to synergize with Knights early on. So the other thing about this is that it does take him longer to use Obliterate, even if the damage ends up being up. So in truly extended fights, it ends up being a nerf. Yeah, so, okay. Volibear. Thunderlaw's range reduced from 2 to 1. Thunderclaw's bounces increased from 345 to 357. So this is obviously a really, really good buff. Volibear was already looking strong yesterday, which is even before I think this patch dropped. So very surprising to see that. Okay, so now that we've seen the patch notes on June 19th, let's go into the 0.2 patch notes. And I just actually talked about these in another video. So Draven, spinning axe damage multiplier reduced from 250 to 450 scaling to 150 to 250 scaling. I already mentioned that I think that Draven isn't truly a standalone champion, as opposed to some of the other characters that come on when he would be coming on. And so in that regard, him losing damage is interesting. He obviously is extremely powerful and strong, and he can solo carry depending on what your archetype is. But I think that there's other characters that offer more in terms of just raw synergy. And the thing that I don't like about Draven is that he's essentially Garen or Darius from League of Legends, not TeamFight Tactics, and that he's a super, super big stat check. So don't like it so much. So any nerfs that come his way I think are actually kind of cool because I think that he's very bland and boring, even though he's intended to be very strong. Aatrox, attack speed increase from 0.455 to 0.65 is quite nice. The problem with Aatrox is that he has the Demon passive, so early on he can have a lot of synergy with, say, Varus, but then he has the Blade Master passive, which if you have Varus out, you're probably not utilizing much of Blade Master. So realistically, I haven't seen a lot of Aatrox in the last 2 days, and I've been playing, I think I have like 30-ish hours logged right now, maybe a little bit more because I have played a little bit offline. Maybe I have 30 to 32 hours logged of TeamFight Tactics, and I have not really seen a lot of Aatrox, and I think that it's mostly because of the way that he's limited by his classes. Aurelian Soul, Voice of Light damage increased from 250 to 650 to 300 to 700. So obviously this is several hundred damage worth of a buff if it ends up hitting multiple targets. The problem with Aurelian Soul is his classes. The thing that I think is really good about Aurelian Soul is when you're going from a mid into late game transition, if you can get him and Shyvana, and you realize that multiple opponents have very heavy magic comps, then obviously you get the double dragon bonus, and then it becomes really powerful in that regard. I think that Aurelian Soul, even with this kind of a buff, is able to be played around too easily, and I still don't think that he's that worthwhile compared to some other champions in the game. Kindred, attack speed reduced from 0.7 to 0.65. This will cause her to ult slower, but it really depends on what team comp she's going up against, because sometimes Kindred actually ults too fast, and then other times she doesn't even get a chance to ult in the first place, and losing out on this little amount of damage won't really change that. So Kindred not really impacted in the slightest because Kindred's just a support champion in this game. Lulu, there is a known bug where Lulu spells does not cast. They're working on a fix. That's really nice that the fix is coming. Misfortune, bullet time damage increased from 700 to 1540 to 800 to 1700. I'll be completely honest that I've only seen Misfortune probably a handful of times, and given that I've played for 32 hours or something, is really, really surprising. I think that she's really impacted by how late you're able to get her, and the fact that she realistically doesn't have much synergy within a lot of team compositions, and she's very susceptible. So, yeah. Morgana, Soul Tracker's damage increased from 200 to 400 to 250 to 450. Morgana is your thrift store brand. You basically get her if you're looking for early power spike, although she comes with a little bit of CC that you would end up she comes with a little bit of CC and durability that you wouldn't have from, say, the Brand. And so if you want her early on for some sort of power, maybe you already have a Varus and you want the Demon synergy, or you're going for other aspects of that, then she's kind of fine to pick up, especially if the enemy team has a lot of clumping going on. It's really good to actually see her get buffed because it means that you do have other options than just waiting for Brand. Volibear, Thundercloud bounce reduced from 357 to 345. So it looks like Volibear was nerfed in a day. He was really, really strong, and if you get a lot of items on him is what makes him strong. If he doesn't have items, I actually don't think that he's that oppressive. So Volibear is sort of like a sculptor. There's definitely a few champions that you sculpt around, and what I mean by sculptors are champions that you try to protect, and they're the defining core characteristic of your team composition. Obviously, Vayne would be one of those types of champions. Nidalee would be one of those types of champions. Chadius, I mean, well, of course you just sculpt around Chadius anytime you get the chance. But in terms of filler champions that I think can go into any type of team composition, I think that Varus and Brand are the two best right now. I actually think that Brand is broken. I'm really surprised to see that he did not make patch notes in either which day yet. So that's kind of nice. Traits, Gunslinger. Fixed a bug where extra attacks from Gunslinger would fire while the champion was stunned or disarmed. That's a nice bug fix, obviously. And then General, fixed a number of bugs making player damage higher than intended. Resolved an issue where units that died after combat ended would trigger Dampion and Gold Generation additional times. Fixed a bug. Alright, so these are all bug fixes. Normally I don't talk about them that much. And there were no bug fixes here. So all in all, 2 okay patches. One of the things that I'm hoping to see is that pirates end up getting buffed. I'm hoping that since this is just beta, that they're secretly just debating us and there's, you know, another 25 champions or something just waiting to be released or something like that, and that we can get more class passives or something else going on. Because I feel like that would actually make things a lot more fun. Other than that, I think everything about the game is pretty cool right now. I think that Brand needs to probably be looked at, and if you're not playing Brand yet and you're not thinking to, like, even if you do not have any of Brand's traits present inside of your team, just get a level 2 Brand and let him carry you. That's all I gotta say. Brand is insane. Brand is absolutely insane. So that's it for the recap. It's nice to see that they're not trying to attack classes directly yet by any means. So very, very fun.